We've succeeded in passing a fiscally responsible package that actually cuts wasteful federal spending while supporting critical programs for the safety, security, and prosperity of the American people. The bill officially ends all taxpayer subsidies for radical far-left woke programming on NPR and PBS, or just a waste of money. It slashes nearly $10 billion in wasteful foreign aid spending, giving money to countries that don't need it. It continues to fund deportation flights that are removing dangerous illegal aliens from our country. It continues historically successful efforts to reduce crime in our nation's capital.
That's President Trump as he signed a $1.25 trillion funding bill to end the partial government shutdown last night. The House passed the measure by a vote of 217 to 214 with support from 21 Democrats. Now, most Democrats opposed the bill over demands for immigration enforcement reform following the fatal shooting of 2 Americans by federal agents in Minneapolis in the last month. The legislation includes 5 spending bills, along with an extension of funding of Department of Homeland Security only for 2 weeks. Lawmakers now face a February 13th deadline to reach a long-term deal, or the department could see its funding lapse. This morning, we are talking right now about it with Oklahoma Senator James Lankford, a member of the Senate Finance and Homeland Security Committees. Senator, great to see you this morning. Thanks very much for being here.
Good to see you.
Yeah, I made the point earlier that your colleagues love to have deadlines right before major things like the midterm elections. So you're funding government now up until September, is that right? Except for the Department of Homeland Security, which only gets 2 weeks.
That's correct. Yes, September the 30th, all government is funded all the way up to that point, except for Homeland Security, which my Democratic colleagues say is ICE funding. But it's way more than that. That actually includes FEMA, that includes all of our TSA, that includes Coast Guard, that includes Secret Service. There's a lot that's in that funding that they're holding up while they're working to defund ICE.
So what do you want to see here in terms of getting together with your colleagues on the left? I mean, the president announced this week that Border Patrol is going to now start wearing body cam equipment. And this is helpful not just for, a potential victim, but it's helpful for the police so that we've got a record of what's going down there. Are there other things that you'd like to see that you think could move the needle for your colleagues on the left that would get them to come to the table and fund Department of Homeland Security, which is, of course, critical for our nation?
Sure it is. Yeah, Homeland Security is critical for the basic operations of our nation and national security. What's interesting is the bill that was negotiated now 10 days ago with Democrats, Republicans, House and Senate. We had wide agreement on it. It had funding for body-worn cameras for our federal agents, ICE, Border Patrol. It had what's called de-escalation training funding in it. So if you get into intense situations, how to be able to bring the volume down. Those things were in the funding bill that Democrats then refused to be able to pass. So I don't know if they didn't read the bill that they had negotiated, or if this just became an optics issue that we can't pass something because our base is screaming at us to defund ICE. What they're asking for is to be able to get rid of what's called administrative warrants and only do judicial warrants. That sounds nice on it, but what that really means is ICE would not be able to operate in almost anywhere in the country. It would turn us from having sanctuary cities to having a sanctuary country that individuals, even with criminal records that are not legally present, could not be picked up by ICE unless they had a federal offense, not a state offense. That means a rape, a murder, an assault, 3 DUIs, that ICE could not pick them up. So what they're asking for sounds nice, but when you read the fine print on it, you find out they're actually trying to do a total ICE out in the nation of all areas of the country.
Well, I don't understand this. I mean, isn't this an issue that that everybody would agree that you don't want murderers and rapists running around on the street that are here illegally? Why is it that there's such disagreement with regard to the border and immigration between Republicans and Democrats?
Yeah, I think this is their very far liberal base that they are so ginned up, saying that everything that Trump is for, they've got to be against, even if it's not rational. The vast majority of Americans do not want criminal aliens in our country, period. The majority of people don't want people that are illegally present here in the country, period. So this is an area that clearly the American people have spoken out on over and over again. In the election, it was a major issue. The border is now completely secure in just 1 year. In fact, in just 1 month, The president was able to make the border completely secure. Now it's working on interior enforcement to be able to make sure that we don't have people here that have committed crimes and also illegally cross the border.
Well, look, I mean, the border is secure right now in terms of new people coming over, but we don't know who's in the country, who've already entered the country for the last 4 years under the Biden open border. The Justice Department says that 4 people, including 2 Venezuelan nationals, ran a $1 million food stamp and pandemic unemployment fraud scheme using 115 stolen identities. Prosecutors say that the identities were stolen from people across the United States, including 6 children. The group allegedly used those identities to collect SNAP benefits in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and then they collected pandemic unemployment benefits in Massachusetts, New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Washington, and Nevada. Comes as the Minnesota Department of Human Services says it will reevaluate nearly 6,000 Medicaid service providers as part of a broader crackdown on fraud. How come fraud is so significant within Medicaid, and what do you want to say about this in Minnesota specifically?
Yeah, in Minnesota, we now know there's billions of dollars in fraud that has been committed, and the state of Minnesota just looked the other direction, thinking these are federal tax dollars coming in, so I don't care as long as the money is coming into the state. We've seen this in multiple areas of the country. Last year, when we passed the Working Families Tax Cut Act, we actually dealt head on with this SNAP fraud issue. It was a huge issue where our Democratic colleagues vehemently opposed us over and over, saying you're taking money away from people. We were simply focusing in on the fraud areas. We were able to get that passed, and now that is being implemented. Where states that are taking in these SNAP dollars, if they don't oversee to make sure it only goes to people that qualify and that people are United States citizens, then the state's going to have to pick up the tab rather than the federal taxpayer. Suddenly, states are waking up and saying, well, if we have to pay the bill, we want to make sure there's no fraud. Well, that should be true always. We're all Americans, and we should make sure federal tax dollars are used wisely. So that has been passed and is now being implemented across the country.
I mean, if there's so much significant fraud with regards to Medicaid and other government agencies, I mean, what will people do in terms of elections, right? Your colleagues want to see the SAVE Act pushed through. And I wonder what you think about this. I know that, you wanted a clean situation, just get government funded, and I get that. But do you expect the idea that, people will have to show ID to vote and the SAVE Act to be part of future legislation, perhaps in a reconciliation bill later this year?
Yeah, we are working through the process on that. In my great state of Oklahoma, you already have to show ID. This is not hard. You have to show ID to be able to go into every federal building. You have to show ID to go through the airport. People are used to doing that. It is already federal law that you cannot be a non-citizen and vote. But there's no way to prove it. We're just trusting, and there's no verification. What we're talking about with the SAVE Act is trust and verify. That person is not legally present in the country, well, or they are a U.S. citizen, just show it. You pull out a real ID, you actually have to demonstrate that. Now, the House has passed their version of the SAVE Act. They've now said, hang on, we want to be able to add something to it that has additional voter ID on it. They're calling that the Save America Act. So they're working through the process pardon me, of that language to be able to get that fixed, and then we're ready to be able to take it up in the Senate as well. Yeah,
I know, but Chuck Schumer says dead on arrival. Why is it that the Democrats do not want a rule to be able to show ID when one votes? What's the problem?
Well, your guess is as good as mine at this point. The California and other states also have ballot harvesting, where you don't have to actually show up and handle your ballot at all. Someone could come to your door, pick up your ballot, and then they could do anything with that ballot. Lots of states that are blue states have no custody of their ballots. We can only assume that is so that they can do ballot harvesting and ballot fraud on it. This law is pretty straightforward, saying if you're legal in the country and you're voting, we want to have voter ID. We want to make sure it's actually you that's voting. Let's have secure elections.
Of course. Meanwhile, Senator, you released your 9th annual federal fumbles report detailing alleged waste, fraud, and abuse in federal spending, broadly speaking. The report says that the federal government wasted millions in the past year on transgender animal experiments and lab testing beagles in China. So in other words, we don't want to pay for people to have an ID to go vote, but we're going to pay for lab testing beagles in China?
Oh, yes, that is there. It's a very, very large federal government. There is always need for more oversight in this. This is the 9th year that we work through this. Doesn't matter who's in the administration or who's in Congress. There's a lot of complexity. There should be a lot of eyes on it and provide some sunshine. The biggest waste area we had was actually last year in the shutdown. We lost $85 billion during that time period. A lot of people say shutdowns don't affect anything. Yes, they do. We lose a significant amount of federal tax dollars during that kind of experience. you identified one of the things that I actually brought out, and that is we talk a lot about Minnesota and the fraud, but we also need to be able to talk about $250 million that was spent on transitioning mice and transitioning monkeys by NIH. Those are things the American taxpayer dollar doesn't want to spend their money on. They don't mind spending money on national defense, on education, on roads. They don't mind spending money on core things, but they don't want their money wasted.
Of course, Senator, exactly. I think everybody can agree on that. Senator, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much, sir.
You bet. Good to see you again.
James Lankford joining us this morning.